So this third subsection in Bhagavad Gita, fourth chapter, uh, discusses about how we can channelize our work in such a way that we can get rid of the reactions. Uh, so how we can remove the reactions to our work. Another sense, how to uh, another understanding that another sense that how to practice karma yoga as the dharma. That is what we learn in text 16 to 24. In the previous two subsections, we have seen how the knowledge, how the Lord has given eternal education in text 1 to 10, and then the accurate understanding of in 11 to 15, accurate understanding how Krishna is the goal and creator of all the gods. So now how to transform our work in such a way that it becomes then it becomes an activity of dharma. That is what is explained in text 16 to 24, which we will cover today. So we'll start with 4.16. किं कर्म किमकर्मेति तव योऽपि यत्र मोहितं तत्ते कर्म प्रवक्ष्यामि यत्नात्वं मोक्षस्य शुभात्. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortune. Action in Krishna consciousness has to be executed in accord with the examples of the bona fide devotees. This is recommended in the 15th verse. Why such action should not be independent will be explained in the text to follow. To act in Krishna consciousness, one has to follow the leadership of authorized persons who are in a line of disciplic succession, as explained in the beginning of this chapter. The system of Krishna consciousness was first narrated to the sun god. The sun god explained it to his son Manu. Manu explained it to his son Ikshvaku. And the system is current on this earth from that very remote time. Therefore, one has to follow in the footsteps of previous authorities in the line of the cyclic succession. Otherwise, even the most intelligent men will be bewildered regarding the standard actions of Krishna consciousness. For this reason, the Lord decided to instruct Arjuna in Krishna consciousness directly. Because of the direct instruction of the Lord to Arjuna, anyone who follows in the footsteps of Arjuna is certainly not bewildered. It is said that one cannot ascertain the principles of religion simply by perfect, imperfect experimental knowledge. Actually, the principles of religion can only be laid down by the Lord Himself. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat anitam. No one can manufacture a religious principle by imperfect speculation. One must follow in the footsteps of great authorities like Brahma, Shiva, Narada, Manu, the Kumaras, Kapila, Prahalad, Ishva, Sukadeva Goswami, Yamaraj, Janak, and Bali Maharaj. By mental speculation, one cannot ascertain What is religion? Or self-realization. Therefore, out of casteness mercy to his devotees. The Lord explains directly to Arjuna what action is and what inaction is. Only action performed in Krishna consciousness can deliver a person from the entanglement of material existence. Yeah. The Lord is explaining here that uh, to understand what is dharma and what is karma, how karma can become dharma, is very difficult. Impossible if one is on the grounds of mental speculation. So, individual intelligence is not sufficient to understand the presence of Krishna conscious lifestyle or Krishna conscious activities. Individual instincts are not sufficient. So, if one only resorts to individual instincts and individual intelligence, uh, then what will happen is Bhagavad Gita is explaining what will happen, proper highlights of that. One will be certainly bewildered as to what is action. The state of bewilderment is a natural consequence of uh, uh, remaining to oneself, or is a natural consequence of uh, self-directed action or action guided by uh, uh, the self-intelligence. So we understand in Krishna consciousness, there is no such Eureka principle which is going to work in Krishna consciousness. That all of a sudden uh, a phenomenal idea is going to come and and owing to that phenomenal idea, one becomes a devotee in the bhava prema platform. That's not going to happen. So spiritual intelligence is not a sporadic outburst, or it is not a sporadic suspension hanging out of nowhere. Spiritual intelligence is passed only through connection with the parampara of the Lord. Here it is being explained that the Lord is giving this message to Arjuna. So anyone who follows Arjuna will get this message, and the result is what? The effect or the test. Everything has a test, whether it is successfully done or not. The test whether the spiritual knowledge is installed in a person's in a devotee in a practicing sadhaka is that the devotee, the practicing sadhaka, will not be bewildered. So the test is one is not bewildered. That is the test whether the spiritual message is properly installed or not. Has it been properly conducted to our heart or not? Has it been installed in our existence or not? The test is whether we are bewildered or not. The state of bewilderment makes the differentiation between spiritual activity and material activity very hazy. So one is not able to differentiate what is spiritual activity, what is material activity. Everything starts appearing to be similar. Everything starts appearing to be similar. Uh, so haziness. Like say for example, chanting of the rounds. So it may start appearing that so chanting, in the morning, chanting in the afternoon, chanting in the evening, everything will start appearing the same. Okay, and the goal is to finish 16 rounds somehow or the other, anytime. So anytime means 10 p.m., 11 p.m. That is the meaning of anytime. So one is not exactly able to differentiate uh, what is the difference between spiritual activity and material activity. One will one starts losing the track of differentiation between spiritualizing our material activities and materializing our spiritual activities. These are two different directives. We have certain material activities we perform. We need to spiritualize. But if one is in a state of bewilderment, may even be peaceful in a state of materializing spiritual activities. It's like materializing spiritual activities. Uh, like chanting while traveling in a local train. Prescribed 16 rounds, not extra rounds. Like hearing while traveling in a local train. No, Bhagavatam plus, not extra hearing. Uh, so that's like the core spiritual activity, and in that state, in that situation, one is not taking any action, and then when one and one just resorts to or just continues with the plan of materializing spiritual activities. So, so therefore, uh, therefore, substantiality. Therefore, in spiritual life, one of the very important principles is we always have to hear from the devotees in the parampara, and only when we hear uh, 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 do the proper scripts get installed in our minds. Otherwise, avayopi atra mohita, even the very intelligent person get bewildered. So Arjuna was bewildered and before the battle of Kurukshetra began. And Arjuna was thinking, okay, I'll go to the forest. So Arjuna was thinking, what is this war, fighting, and all that? I'll go to the forest. So Arjuna was bewildered. Right? So now the point is, can one get liberated in a forest? Uh, at least one cannot get liberated just by going to the forest. Uh, because if one can get liberated just by going to the forest, then all the forest animals will be liberated souls. And the same state we see Yudhishthir Maharaj is exhibiting after the battle. So Arjuna is exhibiting the state of bewilderment before the battle, and Arjuna's conclusion is I'll go to the forest, but I'll get liberated. But Yudhishthir Maharaj, after the battle, he's saying the same state. No, this was a very tough one. No? Better I go to the forest. And that was Yudhishthir Maharaj's conclusion also. So the point is liberation does not happen by going to the forest. So many times people think that okay, if not be this, I leave it and I just give it up and I take that. So just by leaving something, one doesn't get spiritualized. We see this in the pastimes of Sri Ramayana when Bharat Maharaj had come, I believe Chitrakoot, uh, a place of Guha, and Bharat Maharaj was beconing and appealing to the Lord to come back, but Lord Ramachandra was fixed in following. uh, the principles of dharma, upholding the principles of dharma by going to the forest. And Bharat Maharaj was so despondent. So Lord Bharat, he wanted to give up his body. He said, okay, if you are not there, O Lord, what is the use of my life? I will end my life. And then Lord Ramachandra gave him very deep instruction. He said, giving my life is very easy, Lord Ramachandra said. So just by giving up life, one cannot get liberated. Same point. You may say, oh, no, I'm not getting Krishna, feel not of separation, I'll give up my life. No, just by giving up life, I will not get liberated. That is the easy step. So many people are able to do that by committing suicide. So that is not the way by which one can get liberation. And therefore, Lord Ramachandra said, more important than giving up life is to lead a life following my instructions. So nothing should come out of the blue. No idea, no algorithm should come out of the blue. That okay, from my Eureka state, uh, Archimedes was there in the swimming pool, we may be there in the bathroom, this Eureka thought came, no Eureka thought can come after the chanting session also. And that is something what we have to understand, that the process of getting or remaining in clarity is the process of always remaining connected to the parampara and hearing and serving, active hearing and active serving. That is why it is very important to remain uh, in sangha of devotees. So why are there devotee forums? Even if you have to do management, even if you have to do preaching, there are these devotee forums, uh, wherein if one becomes a part of it, one gets a lot of hearing. And any such, and any such eureka idea comes here and there, one can present it and get it validated, modified, and corrected and improved by the devotees. So these so therefore so we get very nicely reminded, we get very nicely purified, and we get very nice clarity when we are there inside devotee forums. So therefore, one should not put a lot of faith in individual creative ideas. Uh, uh, but one should have more faith in the Sangha of devotees. That is the point. Otherwise, we'll be bewildered. Otherwise, we'll be simply bewildered. So, if one goes individual, one is simply bewildered. Like, for example, some devotees, they unfortunately feel that they have, they have to save the world from the menacing situation they have to save the world from the menacing situation of the distorted hodgepodge setup which present day ISKCON is presenting, and they are taking the responsibility to connect people to Srila Prabhupada. Many people feel like that. And they feel this is the mission of our life. The ISKCON is creating damage, the present ISKCON is creating damage and menace in the world, and we want to save the world. You know? So you see the kind of bewilderment which can happen. What is the problem? These devotees don't sufficiently hear from others. They don't accept what other devotees are saying, and therefore that bewilderment goes to such an extreme. There are so many forums. So many people think like this. So illusory bewilderment. You know? Some people feel, what is the need for preaching? Better I should just purify myself. To practice so much bhajan that vibration becomes so magnetic that the whole world will get attracted. Uh, so many people generally feel like that. Huh? So uh, uh, and many people also feel that uh, uh, the reverse may also be there. The reverse is also there. Many people feel that preaching has to be so rampantly done. You know, everything else will follow. Even if morning program is diluted, doesn't matter. But you have to preach till 1 a.m. You know? Morning, no problem. You know? Morning, lot of time is there. People go to office. You know? So 16 rounds can be finished anytime. Actually, Prabhupada was very compassionate. He set a very simple target. 16 rounds is no problem. It just passes 2 hours, passes like that. Okay, it is not very easily. But generally, people have the habit of reading newspaper for 2 hours. Sometimes they have the habit of roaming around for 2 hours. So 2 hours replacement of chanting is not a big problem. So these are all hodgepodge variations. These are all examples of bewilderment, whether it is this side or that side. Therefore, we have to be actively very much connected. And that is where we should have a lot of faith in the Sangha of devotees. That we should have a lot of faith in the Sangha of devotees. Uh, so our own individual algorithms, we should take it very carefully. In the Rath Yatra, His Holiness Bhakti Prem Maharaj was also making this point. He was telling that the best thing is to hear. Some people say, no, I read Bhagavatam, I read Prabhupada books. Maharaj is saying, no, that is not sufficient. The best thing is to hear from other devotees. So hearing is much better than reading. And then he said, in between the two also there is one thing. Better than reading, lesser than hearing. He said, that is what you read with other devotees and discuss. Read with other devotees and discuss is much better than reading alone. And the best thing is hearing. So this principle we have to understand that if we are individually there, then we may get bewildered. Text 18, sorry, 17, 17. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. If one is serious about liberation from material bondage, one has to understand the distinctions between action, inaction, and unauthorized actions. One has to apply oneself to such an analysis of action, reaction, and perverted actions because it is a very difficult subject matter. To understand Krishna consciousness and action according to its modes, one has to learn one's relationship with the Supreme. That is, one who has learned perfectly knows that every living entity is an eternal servitor of the Lord, and consequently, one has to act in Krishna consciousness. The entire Bhagavad Gita is directed towards this conclusion. Any other conclusions against this consciousness and its attendant actions are weak karmas or prohibited actions. To understand all this, one has to associate with authorities in Krishna consciousness and learn the secret from them. This is as good as learning from the Lord directly. Otherwise, even the most intelligent persons will be bewildered. Otherwise, even the most intelligent persons will be bewildered. So, uh, many times in dealings, situations and devotees, one may get such a realization or one may get such an experience that one may feel that how can a devotee act like this? In such a way, even materialistic people don't act. Sometimes we see devotees cross the limits uh, in terms of acting very brutally or neglectfully or harshly. Uh, and one may not just one may not be able to comprehend how can a devotee act like this. Even materialists fear to act in this way, or even materialists don't behave in this way. So, why why such a behavior can come out from a devotee who stands 16 rounds? The reason is explained here that one who goes into the state of bewilderment, such a person is not able to understand the difference between action, inaction, and prohibited action. One is just not able to differentiate between, and therefore, there is a great risk that one will land up into prohibited action, which may incriminate a lot of pain and trouble to the Vaishnavas. And the person who is doing that may not even realize the extent or the severity of the damage what that devotee is incriminating on others. One may not realize also. No, this effect becomes very prominent when one gets some post or position. So there are many devotees who are working under, and this effect can become very prominently or conspicuously visible. So one has to be very careful. One has to be very careful. Like Radheshyam Prabhu says, we should always keep track of how much, how many hours we are speaking, how many hours we are hearing. There should be a balance of that. So sometimes teachers they speak, but they are not doing sufficient hearing. Then what happens? The state of bewilderment. And one will not be able to differentiate what is action and Krishna consciousness, what is material action, what is inaction, what is prohibited action. So that is just an example of the state of bewilderment. So therefore, this state of bewilderment is very dangerous and costly because now we are in the assembly of Vaishnavas uh, who are like flower-like devotees, the flower-like Vaishnavas. And if now we allow ourselves to go into the state of bewilderment, we may perform very severe offenses without even realizing the severity of what we are doing. Very severe offenses because of that bewilderment, not able to differentiate between action, inaction, action and Krishna consciousness, and prohibition. And that is why one should give a lot of importance to the Sangha of devotees. Should give a lot of importance to the Sangha of devotees. That let me always discuss with the devotees. Let me always hear the devotees. Take decision with the devotees, not alone, not alone. Next, one who sees in action, and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. Purport: a person acting in Krishna consciousness is naturally free from the bond of karma. His activities are all performed for Krishna. Therefore, he does not enjoy or suffer any of the effects of work. Consequently, he is intelligent in human society, even though he is engaged in all sorts of activities for Krishna. A karma means without reaction to work. Impersonalist ceases fruitive activities out of fear, so that the resultant action may not be a stumbling block on the path of self-realization. But the personalist knows rightly his position as eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of God. Therefore, he engages himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness. Because everything is done for Krishna, he enjoys only transcendental happiness in the discharge of this service. Those who are engaged but in this process are known to be without desire for personal sense gratification. The sense of eternal servitorship to Krishna makes one immune to all sorts of reactionary elements of work. To explain and highlight on this very phenomena, we see the Shastras give examples of so many demigods. How time and again and again, they get bewildered. Brahmaji got bewildered. He thought, how can this small boy? He thought, how can this small boy be Krishna? How can this impure and small boy be Krishna? Brahmaji got bewildered. Maharaj Indra gets bewildered. We see Dhruva Maharaj getting bewildered. Yes, the Lord does save them, but many times the Lord saves them, and the demigods get bewildered. They are saved through the devotees of the Lord. They go to Brahmaji, again connects them back to Lord Vishnu properly. When Brahmaji gets bewildered, Lord himself intervenes. So many times the Lord does help when the devotee gets bewildered, but many times the Lord's help comes in the form of our Lord's help comes through the devotees. And therefore, one should proactively reach out to devotees in all circumstances. Now, this is quite interesting. This is the Upanishadic style of explanation, which is quite titillating for the intellect. Uh, in that way, that okay, intelligence means what? To see in action, in the action, action in an action. So, so one interesting meaning of this is what does it mean to say in action, in action? So when we have the consciousness, Prabhupada highlights on the aspect of the conscious awareness of being an eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord. That okay, whatever the situation, I am an eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord, and in what way I can serve the Supreme Lord. That is what Srila Prabhupada is highlighting the purport. Now, so this conscious awareness, when one has this conscious awareness, then whatever action one does will be offered to the Supreme Lord. And therefore, one will be saved from any kind of reaction or poison which that particular action may bring forth. Because one is doing it for Krishna. One will not be affected by the contamination which is associated with acting on the material energy. So it is as good as if one has not acted. When it comes to, now this is not a complete statement, it is as good as if one has not acted, uh, only when it comes to the aspect of contamination or infection owing to handling of material energy, right? So this is, so only half of it is no, the analogy, I mean the statement is true only for this aspect, but there is a positive spiritual aspect which is associated with uh, acting for Krishna or offering everything to Krishna, and that is spiritual advancement, that is purification of heart, that is enhancement or increase of attraction for the Supreme Lord, which can never be present in a state of inaction per se. Does it make sense? Anna? So therefore, Prabhupada is quoting that, oh no, impersonalists may think not to act at all. Why to act at all? If action is accompanied with infection or contamination of the mental energy, then we don't act only. No. So if you don't act, then Kujali starts happening. The Bhagavatam explains Aravya Krishna Parapada. No, one starts itching because the nature of the jiva is to be dynamic. But the other point is that there is no purification. There is nothing done on the positive axis of cultivating the Artha with the attraction to the Supreme Lord. So one has acted. So when one acts in Krishna consciousness, he's saved from the contamination as if he did not touch, he or she did not touch the metal elements. It's as good as if he or she has not touched the metal elements. On. It's touched, offered it to Krishna, everything. But the effect is there's no contamination. Just as if one has not touched. But one has got a lot of spiritual purification, mercy, and advance. So this is the point that the activity is not important. Whether one is a preacher, whether one is a pujari, whether one is tending the cows, whether one is taking care of the cleaning and maintenance, repair and maintenance, doesn't matter. Activity doesn't matter. The consciousness that I am eternal servitor of Krishna, whatever I have at my disposal should be offered to Krishna is most important. And that is what is called as inaction. In action. And what is action in inaction? Action and inaction is a devotee is very, very alert and active uh, on the mental plane. Very conscious that I'm offering this to my guru. That in whatever, through whatever I am doing, I have the opportunity to connect to my guru. And through my guru, I have the opportunity to connect to the parampara and the Lord. So devotee is always prayerful. Always prayerful. So it's very, very active. Very, very active. Devotee is very, very active in one sadhana. The sadhana may not be seen as a very tangible manifestation. Like if one does preaching, then one will see, okay, new voices come. Voice has pretty devotees. Utkarsha camps, so many statistics. Okay, or new temple has come. New temple has come. And deities are being installed. So one can see, sadhana. What is the manifestation of sadhana? There is no direct statistical three-dimensional manifestation as such, but one is very active. So that is called as action and inaction. Text 19. One is understood to be in full knowledge. whose every endeavor is devoid of the desire for self gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned by the fire of perfect knowledge. Yeah. Only a person in full knowledge can understand the activities of a person in Krishna consciousness, because the person in Krishna consciousness is devoid of all kinds of sense gratificatory propensities. It is to be understood that he has burnt up the reactions of his work by perfect knowledge of his constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of God. He is actually learned, who has attained to such perfection of knowledge. Development of knowledge of eternal servitorship of the Lord is compared to a fire. Such a fire, once kindled, can burn up all kinds of reactions to work. Such a knowledge can burn up all kinds of reactions to work. Uh, so, Srila Prabhupada explains that this this knowledge, uh, see, the knowledge means, the knowledge is, see, installed knowledge. Now we say, knowledge means installed knowledge. What is installed knowledge? Installed knowledge means the awareness that, the awareness in every situation that I am an eternal servitor of Krishna. That's called as installed knowledge. So knowledge is installed, it leads to this constant awareness that I am an eternal servant of Krishna. Such a devotee who feels, who always is aware and conscious of the fact that I am always eternal servant of Krishna in every situation. Whether it's success or failure, whether it is favorable or unfavorable, one who always has that conscious awareness that I am an eternal servitor of Krishna, then in such a person's heart, there is this divine fire which is burning, and this fire burns up all the reactions of birth. So actually, many times as sadhakas, one may externally inhibit oneself from grossly sinful activity. Uh, uh, but one is not struggling sufficiently on the mental platform. So many times devotees, they may not physically do sense gratification, but they don't, but mentally one may be dreaming about it. Oh, so nice, if I get a nice feast, I have to reconcile myself with Khichdi Prasad every day, uh, like that, So, so sometimes, mentally one is not stopping for sense gratification, like that. And similarly, we may allow ourselves to mentally roam around, in trajectories which kindle this mental sense gratification, like that. So uh, uh, that is also very risky, because the mental state precipitates into action. So shunning sense gratification does not just mean externally or physically giving up the activities of sense gratification. Shunning sense gratification actually means no thinking about sense gratification also. Now that's not a very austere state. Sometimes devotees may feel, oh, this is too austere. Huh? No, it is not austere, because the devotee is relishing. What is the testimony, or what is the benchmark of relishing the activities of Krishna consciousness? If one is relishing the activities of Krishna consciousness, then one should like to think about the activities of Krishna consciousness, not the activities of sense gratification. So that is the point. So one who is relishing Krishna consciousness will think about the activities of Krishna consciousness, not the activities of sense gratification. So one should not reconciliate to this that okay, at least mentally I can think about it, sense gratification, Kali Yuga, mental things are not. Yes, in mental things there is no simple reaction, but the mental things will precipitate physically, just a matter of time. So therefore, a sadhaka has to. So that is why the Lord is explaining here. That means we don't have sufficient knowledge. That means we have to do hearing. That means we have to serve the great devotees of the Lord. We have to serve the Mahat so that we can get some infection of their absorption in Krishna. How much infection? How much? To what intensity we have to get infected? Till we stop thinking about sense gratification. Till we start relishing, thinking about Krishna consciousness, thinking about Shiva, thinking about Krishna, thinking about devotees, serving, service mission, Krishna Shiva, Ramaruchi, Jividaya. And to maintain the constant thinking of relishing, we need again constant association. So that is why the Lord is explaining that one whose every endeavor, subtle or gross, is devoid of the desire of sense gratification, such a person is called to be in full knowledge. Text 20. Abandoning all the attachments to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruit of action, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. But this freedom from the bondage of actions is possible only in Krishna consciousness. When one is doing everything for Krishna, a Krishna conscious person out of pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, uh, acts out of pure love. Okay, the Krishna conscious person acts out of pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there was no attraction for the results of the action. He is not even attached to his personal maintenance. For everything is left to Krishna. Nor is he anxious to secure things, nor to protect the things already in his possession. Of my post, my candidates, he does his duty to the best of his ability and leaves everything to Krishna. Such an unattached person is always free from the resultant reactions of good and bad. It is as though as if he were not doing anything. This is a sign of akarma, or actions without fruitive reactions. Any other action, therefore, devoid of Krishna consciousness is binding upon the worker, and that is the real aspect of karma, as explained herein before. 21. Such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus working, he is not affected by sinful reactions. Purport. A Krishna conscious person does not expect good or bad results in his activities. His mind and intelligence are fully controlled. He knows that because he is part and parcel of the Supreme, part made by him as a part and parcel of the whole is not his own activity, but is only being done through him by the Supreme. When the hand moves, it does not move on its own account, but by the endeavor of the whole body. A Krishna conscious person is always dovetailed with the supreme desire, for he has no desire for personal sense gratification. He moves exactly like part of a machine. As a machine part requires oiling and cleaning for maintenance, so Krishna conscious man maintains himself by his work just to remain fit for action in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. He is therefore immune to all kinds of reactions to all endeavors. Like an animal, he has no proprietorship even over his own body. A cruel proprietor of an animal sometimes kills the animal in its possession, yet the animal does not protest, nor does it have any real independence. A Krishna conscious person fully engaged in self realization has very little time to falsely possess any material object. For maintaining the body and soul, he does not require unfair means of accumulating money. He does not therefore become contaminated by such material sense, and therefore he is free from the reactions of his actions. Yeah. So now the point here is that uh, uh, the devotee voluntarily, happily gives up the sense of proprietorship. Uh, just like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in his song that uh, बहु दुख पाए आछि स्वतंत्र जीवने uh, दुःख दूर गेलो ओ पादवर. He's saying that in Swatantra Jivan, independent life, so much misery, so much full on torture I have suffered. And now this intelligence, oh, it is such a dangerous thing. Better I give it to you, O Lord. And as soon as I have clasped your lotus feet, all the dukkha dure gelo, all the dukkha has gone away. You do not have to say. The devotee is very happy offering independence actually. Understanding that this very independence, what my false ego dictates all the time, is the very source of excruciating misery, agony, which and emptiness in my life. The moment I give it up and offer it to Krishna, now one can become ecstatic. One can become ecstatic. So it is this independent mentality which keeps one static. And as soon as one gives it up, one becomes ecstatic. So that's the point. Like recently, Ravi Shankar was saying one very beautiful thing. He said, Ravi Shankar was saying that actually we should not hold money. And he was saying, why? Because one holds money, then that money starts infecting and contaminating our mind and consciousness. It starts polluting and contaminating. Because one thinks, oh, I have 1 crore, I have 10 crore, I have now 15 crore. So nice. And if I do a little more endeavor, I get more crore. And so many crore. Like that. It contaminates intelligence. And I should say, very nice to be as soon as money comes, as soon as money comes, we offer it to Krishna immediately, don't store it. He said, burn it in the fire of Sankirtan immediately. Burn it immediately in the fire of Sankirtan. Money comes, build a temple, finish. And now money comes, do a camp, 500 people camp, they got Krishna consciousness, nice experience. Burn it in the fire of Sankirtan. Don't keep it. You keep it, it will infect us. We keep it, it will infect us. Uh, the more we keep it, the more it infects us. The longer we keep it, the longer it infects us. So, such a devotee, he gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions. He only acts for the bare necessities of life. Bare necessities of life. Just like an animal, Baba's giving me example. Very beautiful. 622. He who is satisfied with gain, which comes of its own accord, who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled, although performing actions. A conscious person does not make much endeavor even to maintain his body. Doesn't make much endeavor. He's satisfied with gains which are obtained of its own accord. He neither begs nor borrows. So one should not take loan. Prabhupada is saying, no, for any case, no, for in any situation whatsoever, no, whenever that doesn't beg or borrow. Whatever gain comes of its own accord, devotee is satisfied. He labors honestly as far as is in his power and is satisfied with whatever is obtained by his own honest labor. He is therefore independent in his livelihood. He does not allow anyone's service to hamper his own service in Krishna consciousness. However, for the service of the Lord, he can participate in any kind of action without being disturbed by the duality of the material world. The duality of the material world is felt in terms of heat and cold, misery and happiness. A Krishna conscious person is about duality because he does not hesitate to act in any way for the satisfaction of Krishna. Therefore, he is steady in both success and failure. These signs are visible when one is fully in transcendental knowledge. So when it comes to one's own self, a devotee is not much enthusiastic. He says, "Oh, I'm not much interested." But when it comes to pleasing Krishna, a devotee is excited and enthusiastic for any undertaking. If it can be pleasing to Krishna, if it can be the mission, if it can further the mission of the Lord, a devotee is ready for anything. You know? Just like we heard about this one as Gopal Krishna Maharaj consciousness. Then yeah, no, so he would say, I'm ready to put my head at the feet of any person uh, who can help in furthering the mission of Srila Prabhupada. That is his consciousness. Anything which is required for the service of the Lord. So, so this is begging, borrowing. One is not ready to do it for oneself. But when it comes to Krishna, it's a privilege to be a beggar on behalf of Krishna. It's a privilege to be a beggar on behalf of Krishna. So a devotee is enthusiastic for the service of the Lord. Prabhupada explains in the second chapter of the Holy Example. So the service of the Lord, a devotee is always daring and active. Always daring and active. Success or no success. Service of the Lord, devotee is always daring. So what Prabhupada is explaining, what is explained here, in this sense, the devotee doesn't maintain himself. He doesn't, he's satisfied with whatever comes of his own accord. He's free from duality. He doesn't envy anyone. He's steady in both success. And these are all signs, visible signs of transcendental knowledge. And one who has that transcendental knowledge, that is that awareness, Smartavyam Satatam Krishna. Vismartavyam Nachatu Chit. Always remember Krishna. Never forget. Text 23. The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. Such a person's work it merges into transcendent. That means it is no more material, it is spiritual. Becoming fully Krishna consciousness, but becoming fully Krishna conscious, one is freed from all dualities and thus is free from the contamination of the material modes. He can become liberated because he knows his constitution and position in relationship with Krishna, and thus his mind cannot be drawn from Krishna consciousness. Consequently, whatever he does for Krishna, who is the primeval Krishna. Therefore, all his works are technically sacrifices because sacrifice aims at satisfying the Supreme Person Vishnu. So, such a person, the resultant reactions to all such works certainly merge into transcendence and one does not suffer the material effects. So, such a person, whatever he does, he or she does, it becomes a sacrifice, it becomes yajna. There is no need to perform any separate yajna because one is fully conscious that I am eternal servant of Krishna. So, whatever is coming to me, let me offer it to Krishna. Such a person is performing yajna throughout the day in and day out is performing yajna. Such a person is performing yajna. This is sacrifice, day in and day out. Ah, day in and day out is performing yajna. And then we come to text 24. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagno Manahutam Brahmaivatena Gantavyam Brahmakrama Samadhana. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute, and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. So the offering becomes spiritual, and the process of offering is spiritual, the ingredients of offering is spiritual, and the end goal is spiritual. So everything becomes spiritual to such a person. And therefore, it is said that such a person is absorbed in Krishna conscious activities. In this way, will surely attain the spiritual kingdom. Let's read the purpose. How the activities in Krishna consciousness can lead one ultimately to the spiritual goal is described here. There are various activities in Krishna consciousness, and all of them will be described in the following verses. But for the present, just the principle of Krishna consciousness is described. A conditioned soul, entangled in material contamination, is sure to act in the material atmosphere. Yet he has to go out, get out of such an environment. The process by which the conditioned soul can get out of the material atmosphere is Krishna consciousness. For example, a patient who is suffering from the disorder of the bowels because of overindulgence in milk products is cured by another milk product, namely curds. So the materially absorbed conditioned soul can be cured by Krishna consciousness. As set forth here in the Gita, the process is generally known as yajna or activities, sacrifices, which are simply meant for satisfaction of Vishnu or Krishna. The more the activities of the material world are performed in Krishna consciousness or for Vishnu only, the more the atmosphere becomes spiritualized by complete absorption. The word Brahma, Brahman means spiritual. The Lord is spiritual, and the rays of his transcendental body are called Brahma Jyotir, his spiritual effulgence. Everything that exists is situated in the Brahma Jyotir. And when the Jyotir is covered by Maya or sense gratification, it is called material. This material wheel can be removed at once by Krishna consciousness. And thus the offering for the sake of Krishna consciousness, the consuming agent of such an offering or contribution, the process of consumption, the contributor, and the result all combined together are Brahman or the absolute truth. The absolute truth covered by Maya is called matter. Matter, dovetailed for the cause of absolute truth, regains its spiritual quality. Krishna consciousness is the process of converting the illusory consciousness into Brahman or Supreme. When the mind is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it is said to be in samadhi or trance. Anything done in such transcendental consciousness is called yajna or sacrifice for the absolute. In that condition of spiritual consciousness, the contributor, the contribution, the consumption, the performer, or the leader of the performance, and the result or ultimate gain. Everything becomes one in the absolute, the supreme Brahman, and that is the method of Krishna. So let us stop here for today. Okay, there was a question. A lot of time we are not actively remembering Krishna while doing services. In that case, what are the possible consequences? Yes. And also devotees will have various degrees of knowledge, how it impacts our actions and reactions. So the remembrance of Krishna is a cultivation which is developed by practice. So we have to practice remembering Krishna. How do we practice? The moment we realize. So the first thing is very good sadhana in the association of strong devotees. The second thing is some tangible service in the mission of the Lord. Then, so when there is good sadhana, uh, Then now the practice stage comes. No? So that gives us the gunpowder or the ammunition, the source material for remembering Krishna. In the course of doing our activities, we will not remember Krishna. At some point of time, we remember that we are not remembering Krishna. That means we become aware that we are not remembering Krishna. Yeah? Immediately we should immediately we should add a spiritual component at that point. The moment we are realizing that I am not remembering Krishna, that moment, then let us take a few moments from that moment to remember Krishna, like that. Na? Just like in chanting, Satsarup Maharaj says, the moment you realize that you are chanting mechanically, the moment you realize your mind has got drifted from away from Krishna, bring it back again. The same thing has to be done not just during chanting, but throughout the day. And we may not be able to go on. We may not have that stamina to go on throughout the day. That is why we do good sadhana. That is why we need to connect to devotees, so that we can get that stamina like that. So this is a cultivation which is developed by practice. And yeah, we are in different degrees of knowledge. What happens to us? We are doing mix. Sometimes we do, like Prabhupada said, na, sometimes you're Krishna conscious, all other times you're in Maya. Most of the times you're in Maya, sometimes Krishna conscious. That is how our Krishna consciousness begins. Then we are a little more in Krishna and still a lot in Maya. And then we are a little more again Krishna, but still substantially a lot in Maya, like that. And in this way we progress step by step. So it's a process of cultivation. And therefore, a devotee should be enthusiastic to progress, and not just progress snail steps, but progress elephant steps, madly charging towards the Lord's feet of the Lord. Let's stop here for today. Grantaraj Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.